back to Gear and Beer. Cheers. Welcome my guest, Saul Philcox Littlefield.
Hey, y'all.
Guitar player and human extraordinaire. Thank you for coming, man. I
All right,
appreciate
thank
it.
you for having me, man. This is
My pleasure.
super exciting.
If I don't know, I always like to ask, like, where were you born? Obviously, you were not born in America.
No, England, the UK, Norfolk County.
Norfolk County?
Southeast, kind of little coastal town down there.
That's dope.
Yeah, big good.
We've had them from all over the place. So we were talking downstairs about a crazy experience you had.
Yeah.
I've been chomping at the bit, not nipping at the bud. That's a different phrase. I've been chomping at the bit to hear this story. So
I've been dying to tell this story. It was, it's pretty legendary. It's kind of like the perfect day to have. The guys I was working with today were saying, like, man, you're gonna be telling this story for 30 years. And I was like, yeah. So, starts off, I woke up super early. I quit drinking a couple months ago, and it's kind of gotten me on this dad kick where I'm like waking up at like, you know what I mean? Like just 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. It's, it's been cool. I've been getting to do shit, work on overdubs. And,
yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's kind of where I'm at right now, and I'm digging it.
That's dope.
My
Props.
girlfriend was like, do you want to come cook breakfast? I got eggs and bacon and stuff. I was like, that's awesome. I got to be at Soundstage at like 10 o'clock. So I grab a bunch of strings and stuff, and I'm like, well, it's awesome. I got my cartage there. I'm going to go have breakfast, get there like an hour early, change some strings, and kind of just hang out and do that whole thing and drink some coffee and enjoy my morning.
Yeah.
So I went over to my girlfriend's place, parked outside. She's over like on Belmont Boulevard, which I convinced her was just recently. It was, this is an awesome place for a young girl to move. It's really safe. It's really nice. It's not congested. It's like a lovely neighborhood. I lived there years ago. It's great. And she got a great apartment in this building that I heard Jimi Hendrix lived in, actually. That's
real?
another story I don't know too much about, but someone told me that the other day.
I want to look into that.
Beautiful old historic apartment building on Belmont. Anyway, I park my car. We go up, have some breakfast for like 30 minutes. I come back down, and I head to the studio just up the street to Soundstage, and I'm about to unload, and I look in the back, and 2 of my guitar cases are missing. Like 2 of my double bags. Like I got 2 of those Reunion Blues.
Yeah.
Shout out to those guys, by the way, because they're awesome. 2 of those that I carry. I keep all my nice stuff at home, and then if it's, depending on the session, I'll bring some of my nice shit because it just stays with me, and I carry it in, and no one else has to touch it. And Larry, my cartage guy, he just deals with the cheap stuff that's the utility instruments and all that stuff and the pedal boards and stuff. Anyway, it's just a system I have.
And I would assume amp rack. And cabs too.
All that stuff. It's protected.
But as far as instruments go,
it's sort of I feel like most guys are like that. You keep your prized possessions at home, and they just they live with you at all times. Anyway, these 2 cases are missing. And I'm just freaking out. I'm just like, man, am I an idiot? Did I just lean them up against my wall before I left my house, and I never put them in the car, and they just never made it? And I'm like, fuck. So I drive back to my house like 10 minutes away. They're not at my house. I'm texting all my neighbors, and they've all left for work and stuff around the same time. And I'm like, hey, did you guys happen to see anything? Like cases laying out. They were like, no.
I'm like my heart rate is increasing.
Dude, and at this point, this is where it's setting in. I'm realizing, no, I put them in I remember, I was like, I stacked them this way, like such and such. I was like, these motherfuckers are gone. I was like, they're straight up gone. And I'm like, I don't think I left my car unlocked, but also it was just, hungry, early morning, just, it's my girlfriend's apartment, safe neighborhood. Maybe I just didn't hit the clicker on my way back to the car, but I'm still thinking this is like just an improbable impossibility. It just doesn't make sense for...
But there was stuff left in the car too?
Yeah, there was like 3 more cases. There was one that had like my 56 Telly and my 1973 55, and then my Gretsch and it was all there, a trunk full of amps and pedal board and everything. It was all still there. Nothing had been tossed around or anything. And I start putting the pieces together. I'm just like, man, like the only thing I can think of is I somehow left it unlocked, some opportunist happened to walk by in that 30-minute window and see all the shit there and just realize,
the stuff with straps.
grab it, probably on foot, you know what I mean? Like, just grab the stuff exactly with shoulder straps and make off with it. And I'm just like,
Man.
I'm ruined at this point. So I get back to the studio.
If you're watching, fuck you.
Yeah, for real. This gets good.
Pardon my language. Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, no, it's for real. No, I get the studio. Rob McNally's on the session too. I get there. I'm just like freaking out. I'm just like, dude, I think I just got ripped off. I think I just had 2 guitar bags stolen. And he's like, you know, man, like, fuck, that's awful. I tell him what happened, and I'm like, anyway, you know, we're about to start this record, and just, you know, everyone's excited about it. I'm like, okay, there's nothing I can do right now. I'm not going to let it ruin the session. I just hope I can play without thinking about this. I'm texting my girlfriend, you know, she was a sweetheart. She was like, I'll do everything I can. She was like, I'll cancel my meetings. I'll go knock on doors, go see if anyone in my neighborhood has a Ring camera, or just ask around and stuff like that. No, I was like, thank you. That's the only thing that really can be done right now, because it's like, you know, we're on a master session. I can't, like, go take a break and go make a police report or anything. It's like, that shit can take hours.
Sure,
and I'm just literally just at the mercy of just, like, what could possibly happen. So we're literally just listening down to the first song. We're making charts and stuff. And I'm just...
So what was missing?
Here's what was missing. My 1963 Gibson SG Special, that's all original, that I've only had for, you know, less than a year or so. One of my favorites. My Duesenberg Star Player is another one I've only had for like a year or so, one of my favorites. A parts telly baritone that I put together of stuff that's... some of the parts on there was shit that I'd had for forever, and I just, you know, I love the guitar. And then the worst one was this Custom Shop SG that I just bought off Derek Wells, like, a week ago. Like, this beautiful one-off SG that was made for Rumble Seed or something, some years ago, and he got it and he sold it to me, and it's a one-off, and it's, I'm paying him off, like, you know, in installments, because it was so nice that I just had to have it, and just, it was like my dream finish and everything. Just, you know, beautiful guitar. I've been playing it all week, in love with it. Just, you know, it's like a little kid all proud, showing everyone and everything, and I'm just like, fuck, this is so, I was like, this could go one of like a few ways. And anyone who knows who's had gear stolen, which I think at some point has happened to everyone, it's just, there's really a few probabilities of what can happen. If you just wait and hope that the shit shows up. And Nashville has, I've had stuff go missing in the past, and the community is pretty good with everyone putting their heads together to look out for stuff.
No doubt.
Sometimes it'll show up in pawn shops. I was like, worst case scenario, someone tries to sell this, realizes that you can't really sell hot gear much these days because they're so strict
Especially not around here.
Yeah, they're so strict with serial numbers and stuff like that. And the worst case scenario is some guy realized that and then didn't want to get caught and threw it all in a dumpster. Which is, I've heard that happening to people. Yeah, or it's like career criminals where someone, just, you know, for whatever reason has been casing me for weeks, and, you know, the shit's already halfway to across the country at this point, you know, like, and I was like, that's, you know, worst case scenario. But anyway, all you can do is wait. And I was like, you know, cops they're not really set up to help in situations like this. It can take forever. You know, from past experience and knowing people that have gone through this before and having had stuff stolen from me before, it's like, it's just, you just have to kind of do it yourself. It's like, you got to figure it out. I was like, the only thing I can do now is get on Facebook. And I posted on Facebook Marketplace and the Nashville Music Gear Trader page. And I was like, look, this literally happened this morning. My car, someone got into it. I left it unlocked, I think, because I'm an idiot.
Speaking of idiots, I want to make sure that I haven't done something stupid.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm not as dumb as I look.
Great. Dude, so anyway, I just put out this Hail Mary Facebook post, like, just hoping that just maybe there's a chance something will happen. We carry on with the session, we get a song done. I'm still, my nerves are just shot. I'm just, you know, it's that awful feeling of, like, losing something like that, and knowing that I'm just, you know,
you're essentially helpless. You can do nothing about it.
Yeah, but I'm just like, you know, I'm working, so it's like I got to get through the day. There's nothing that can be done. So I get a Facebook message from some lovely lady, and she straight up says, I think we have your guitars. I work at Barry's pawn shop on Murfreesboro Road. She was like, I think we have your guitars. And I'm just, fuck you, what? You went.
You got a card or some sort of ID in there?
Right, and I'm like, no, she, this is what happened. She messaged me. She saw my Facebook post because she says some guy came into the pawn shop around 10 a.m. with the guitars. The manager knew exactly what they were as far as value and just, got the character of this guy as a junkie and was just and check this out, he goes through the whole process of quoting this guy, taking the guitars in, ringing them up, being like, okay, this is what we can give you for this, giving you the price, everything. Cool, this is how much we're gonna give you, just need your ID. The guy hands him the ID, he copies it, and the guy straight up says, all right, I know these are stolen, so you're leaving them with me unless you want to go to jail right now.
Oh,
and the
man.
guy ran out of the shop, and the guy's assistant, this sweet girl, she just had an inkling that she was like, I'm just going to check Facebook to see if anyone's posted, if anything's gone missing. And literally, and she was like, I just pulled up Facebook, and it just, you talk about the social media stuff where they listen to conversations, or
Right.
they're now even talking about how they listen to targeted ads and stuff come up when you're just thinking about a Chex Mix or something, and you don't even talk about it. And
It's Elon Musk and his neural
yeah, exactly,
net, bro.
for real, man. It's like, then she said, this straight up showed up. It was my post, and she messaged me. I was like, guys, I'm gonna take 10 minutes. Like, ran down the street, went and got these guitars, and the guy told me, and he was like, I knew they were stolen, and we didn't want to deal with them, so we just kept hold of them, cases and all. This guy wasn't even smart enough to pull them out of the cases. Like, just came in, and dude, they gave me the guy. Like he was like, oh, this. He's like, if you want to find this dude, here's his ID. they printed it out. It's like, that's some old school like justice system right there. Like,
Oh, dude, this is not even a driver's license.
no, it's
learner's permit.
This is my favorite part of it, dude. This motherfucker, he's 41 years old. He's got a learner permit. Dude, and it's just great. I hope you guys could see that. And Reed Shippen told me he looks like Phil Collins, and I'm like, he does.
Yeah, after a bender.
Yeah, he looks like Phil Collins, like at his worst.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, God, like,
Dude,
anyway,
that's
so
crazy,
funny.
man.
Anyway, this is brilliant, and we looked up this guy, and it's just he's just a sad character with arrest records everywhere, drug problems or whatever. I'm still debating whether to just leave it and just chalk it off as a lesson learned, and just this guy's probably halfway dead already, so it's like, do I even want to do anything about it? People are like, man, you gotta find him and kill him. Like, I'm like,
well, I
do
got my
I,
guitars
though?
back,
I got
and
my
that's
guitars
pretty heavy
back,
weight
yeah.
on your conscience.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, the universe was very, very kind to me today, and yeah, that doesn't normally happen. I
have never heard of anything. It's
No.
in like, what, 2 hours, you said?
Oh, 2 hours, yeah, like within 2 hours, and yeah, it's just unheard of, and
That's crazy,
I posted
dude.
about it. I gave the guys at the pawn shops, and I gave them $100 each, and was just like, hey, thank you, like, just they were
Good
like,
Samaritan fund.
and he was like, man, give us a shout out on Yelp or like social media. I was like, I will. Like, so I
Believe
mentioned
you
them,
me.
and then it's just all day. It's like I probably had 400 comments from people just being
That's
like,
hilarious.
that's the most ridiculous thing that's ever happened. You were the luckiest son of a bitch alive. And I'm like, I really am. I'm like the biggest idiot for that even happening in the first place. But just,
I mean, that's
someone
who
up
doesn't
there,
leave their car unlocked.
someone up there likes
occasionally?
me. You know what I mean? It's like,
I mean, that's really unfortunate that it would be a time when your car's full of gear.
So careful about the car thing too. So
Same.
I lived in East Nashville for years, just bouncing around different neighborhoods and stuff, and never know what's gonna happen. I'm so careful about it. It was one of those mornings. I was hungry. I wanted bacon and eggs, and I just pulled up my car and went into the place, and for some reason didn't. Right when this guy was walking past, and
Man.
just got it. It means that's there's some.
You hear
karma
that,
and-
kids? Bacon and eggs leads to theft. So
Anyway, yeah, that was
watch
just-
what you eat.
That's how my day has been so far.
You are listening to the Gear and Beer Podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Bobby Jam's Kitchen. Want to take your home cooking to the next level? Need new recipe ideas or meal inspiration? Like, follow, and subscribe to Bobby Jam's Kitchen on YouTube and Instagram at Bobby Jam's Kitchen. Cook your food and eat it.
Take a little early lunch break. I'll run to this pawn shop, go grab this. Just too easy. Just like I'm just like can't
Everybody at the session was really understanding about it.
Yeah, for real. And I get back and I'm just like, I can't believe it. And they're like, wait, like when did this happen? I'm like, this morning. Like, and they were like, literally this morning. And I'm like, yes, like today, like 8:00 this morning. Like I wasn't exaggerating. Like I just had these guitars stolen. They're thinking, oh man, like this happened earlier in the week and you've been dealing with it for like what? And I'm like, no. And they were like, man, how did you hold it together like that first song? And I'm like, I didn't really think I did, but thanks for.
Well, you've got quite a hefty set of skills to fall back on.
Exactly. So. No shit. Like but
muscle memory did not fail you.
And just not not showing too much emotion. I guess like in my face, like.
Hiding it all inside.
Hiding it all, just crushed and just dying inside. Like, well, this is happening, but yeah. Anyway, rest of the day was great, and it just went down awesome.
Did you play especially well after such a high and a low like that?
Much better, yeah, definitely. Like
I bet.
much more joyful.
Put you in a nice.
I'm sure there's a little more of a spring in my pocket. Like,
yeah, that's awesome, man.
A lot more,
and that's crazy.
A lot more major voicings and less like.
So what were the three guitars that didn't get stolen? The Telly, the 58 Telly, and
the 56 Telly.
56 Telly, excuse me.
That would have been the worst one, honestly. That and my 1970 335, which is that's just my that's kind of my baby as well.
Then there was 335. Man.
Oh yeah, you got
I've got
the P90 one, right?
Well, no, I've got the 330, but I've got this 65 Sheridan.
Dude, that's nuts.
But it's got the minis.
Gorgeous.
I've never seen that before.
No, I mean
it sounds cool, man. It does like a It gets real twangy, surprisingly. It's actually really kind of a bright, thin bridge pickup, like surprisingly so. But I don't kind of
dig that though, because it's like it probably compensates. You still get the big roundness of the.
It's an amazing body, guitar. It's
dude, that's awesome.
It's not a good on-stage guitar because it's pretty sensitive to like temperature change, but
sure.
So tuning it kind of goes crazy, but like just in the house, the tuning's fine, or like in a studio or anywhere inside really. I
like the idea just of mini buckers in the hollow body there. That's cool as shit. I like the finish on that as well.
Yeah, dude, it's all checked, and like I'm not a gold hardware guy, but the gold hardware sure works on that guitar.
Yeah, that's my 355's kind of got that, but it's kind of worn. You know what I mean? It's not all shiny gold. It's like,
and I can't play this guy anywhere live just because it just takes off the fully hollow or whatever.
Yeah.
This is another one of my dad's guitars.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
And it kind of sucks, like being set at the 17th fret or the 17th fret instead of the 15th fret.
I didn't even notice that. Yeah, it's kind of.
Put your hands on that. It's like it's super weird, man.
Yeah, dude.
It doesn't look like it's short, but it's short.
You can't really get up there.
You can't. You don't have that A or C pentatonic position or whatever. All my strings are like what I consider very dead, and what everybody else said is not that dead. Apparently, I have very uncorrosive hands. which is the opposite of when I was a younger man. Everybody always says that's my favorite that's their favorite of my guitars.
Dude, that's a monster. Yeah.
It's a beautiful guitar for sure.
Dude, yeah, that's killer.
I use it on jazz gigs a lot.
Yeah, dude. Well, especially because you're not really needing to get super high, like.
I like it. I like playing up there, even playing jazz stuff. But I mean, you just can't do it on that guitar. So it's just like anything else. You use what's available. That's my approach, anyway. I tend to that guitar and my 71 SG tend to be the ones that engineers and producers like the most. My tellies are fine. They're nothing special. I got a Nash and an American Standard that I tricked out or whatever. But that guitar and my 71 SG, which is another guitar you need to put your hands on because it's very weird. The neck it's like a toothpick, and it weighs, I think, maybe 5 pounds. It weighs nothing.
Oh, wow. Dude, yeah, that's bad.
This is a good one. There's this, you can see kind of the spot right there. It was like bumpy, melted finish. Like, I can't figure out what could have possibly happened to do that, but it was like real bumpy and like sticky. And I had my buddy fix it, but I still have not been able to like come up with a scenario where it's something. I mean, other than maybe somebody like putting a flame to it and melting the finish.
I think I know what that is.
What is it?
Back in the day, they made guitar stands out of this really shitty material, and the rubber that would hold the neck had like these bad chemicals in and stuff. Where
so
over
like,
time, it would react with like the different nitros and stuff. I feel like someone's told me that before, like, is because before they figured out the science behind it. Now it's like, it's all like
that makes total sense.
Now they advertise them as being like, oh, this is like pure, like like plastic's not gonna like age. It's like it kind of makes sense, you know what I mean? If you think of like
that absolutely makes sense.
Yeah,
chemicals react.
Yeah, exactly, and it's like especially over time, and it's like back when those were newer instruments, they weren't vintage, so it's like they didn't know. There was no testing that you could do over time I think that was just sort of something they figured out. Like, yeah, you look at some of those gnarly old guitar stands from like the 60s and 70s. They all got the sort of green rubbery sort of
kind of like that.
Yeah, but it's, maybe it was this stand.
Dude,
I'm looking at it now. I'm like, maybe that makes sense. Maybe it started bubbling, and then someone tried to buff it out, and it's sort of one of those things where you get the stain in your shirt. Everything you try makes it worse. You know what I mean? Like, you say, oh, fuck sandpaper. Like, oh, no, I'm going to try to re-lacquer it, and it makes it worse.
Feel that.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that thing's tiny, bro.
Oh, look at that. Dude, it's cute.
That's probably my favorite guitar to play. It was
that's killer.
Another one of my dad's finds. He's great at finding amazing guitars. That was a display piece in a vintage clothing store in my hometown, and he noticed it was vintage and was like, how much you guys want for that? Is that guitar for sale or whatever? And they're like, yeah. He's like, how much you want for it? And they're like, I don't know. Make me an offer. He's like, I don't know, $600. And there you have it. 71 SG. Pickups dated 69. Never played it through an amp that didn't like it. It's a lovely garage door sound these microphones will be picking up right about now.
Oh, dude, dude, these are awesome.
Isn't it cool? Like, it's so ugly. I hate that. And, like, it just feels cheap in that plastic,
Yeah.
But it also, like, what am I going to put in place of it? Put a metal plate? It's going to look weird. Maybe I should have somebody build me a rosewood one.
I love what a goofy company Gibson is.
Right?
When you look at them just through the ages, like through everything with just the like the naming of the Les Pauls and how that became the SG and all the weird legal lawsuit, divorce battle stuff that was involved in all of that, and like all the flawed designs. Like, and you look at like 70s SGs, there's like 10 different types. You know what I mean?
They change it every 2 years.
They change it every 2 years. It's just like, man, like they were just out there. It's like, it's funny.
They only made those from 71 to 73.
Yeah.
I forget what the change was. Surely it was to get rid of that bullshit plastic control panel. But I mean, it's like literally, it's like let's put a pick guard here. Oh wait, we forgot to put in controls.
Yeah,
okay, put the controls in the
it's like
pick
almost
guard.
like they forgot to like, they're like, oh shit, we didn't do any routing or anything on the back, so we're just like, let's just swim, like just carve it out and stick a piece of plastic there. That's great.
That's super weird. But I'm like the Tom Morello of guitars that actually work.
Yeah.
I like to find weird, cheap guitars. Maybe not cheap, but like I just like to find weird guitars. Maybe it's not even that I like to. Maybe it's just that I tend to find weird guitars. Like, I'm sure they exist, but I've tried to look up Sheratons from 65 with those mini humbuckers. I can't find one.
Yeah, it's...
But the guy I got it from is the guy that runs the Dallas Guitar Show, and he's like a vintage dealer, and you know, he says that he's only seen a few, so they exist.
Yeah,
they can't have just made one.
Limited runs and sort of. Yeah, you'll find those are just like random.
I love.
Well, there's certain ones where they just did like 5 of one finish or something.
It's like, what even is that? You know, it's like it's a flower, and then I guess those are leaves, but it looks like it's got arms. I don't know. It's super weird.
There's like triangle, like fucking
inlays?
Alien artifact looking. God, I mean, they're pretty. They're really pretty to look at, but you're just like, you know, that was just some.
It's just a very
bizarre,
eclectic design.
Afterthought that someone had at the factory. It's just like, man, Gibson's hilarious, man. Like,
they are so
man,
good.
like even like the last like 10, 20 years, like you hear all the stories, like. Do you remember when the factory like made it to like the Forbes list of like top 10 worst places to work in America?
No, but that's not
where they were
surprising.
like making people like all the builders there were like minimum wage. They were making them work like 17-hour shifts with like no bathroom breaks and shit. It was like weird, you know what I mean? It's just really bizarre.
That is a bizarre company for sure.
That SG that I just got, the only reason it was rare and it was a one-off is because they were going to do a run and then the FBI shut them down for the
that's one of the illegal woods.
It was
or whatever.
right after the wood. It's just like, man, like Gibson's weird. They're an odd company, especially
man.
like their PR the last few years and all that shit that's gone down and the robot.
They've been pretty quiet since all the wood.
The robot
stuff.
guitars and all that stuff. It's just God.
Yeah, that's so weird, man.
They're just like a bizarre, like just all these like calamities of like things that have happened, like. Oh, that's funny.
It's like
I love it too. I like the weird ones. Like I love the juniors and the specials, and just because they're light and they're weird and cheaper and just It's not like a $50,000 gold top Les Paul. It's like, oh, this is actually obtainable. Like this is something that you could find. Like,
and there's vibe out there, man. Somebody was trying to tell me that their builds were very consistent, and I was like, have you ever played a Gibson?
No, it's like they're not.
They're the least consistent guitar company I've ever. But like that almost makes it cooler because when you find one that's banging, it's super banging. That's been my experience. I have an early 90s Les Paul Studio, and it plays like $1 million, but I can't find a set of pickups to go in that guitar to make it sound good. Yeah, it just doesn't sound good. It sounds like shit.
Weird with it, yeah.
But I wish it didn't because it plays like $1 million. It weighs like 312 pounds, and it sounds like somebody put pickups in a boat anchor. But it plays great. I got it when I was 11. You know, it's my first guitar. It was not like I was seeking a Les Paul, and that's what I decided with or anything. But
dude, that's great.
I would love to have a good Les Paul, though. Something about it, man. I mean, you can approximate the Gibson tone a bunch of ways. The 335 sounds Gibson-y. The SG sounds Gibson-y. But like to to a distinguished set of ears, if somebody's looking for a Les Paul sound and they know what a Les Paul sound is, that's not the same thing anymore.
Yeah, right. It's
saying I can't really get that sound because mine sounds like dog poop.
Yeah, it's like you got one that just sounds like it's got like the permanent tone roll off, like where you just can't get any highs out of it, and then some of them are super bitey, and just I like that about it. It's that sort of endless pursuit, like that's.
Yeah. In my particular one, the neck pickup, no matter how I played with like output, it was like I think as it sits right now, it's a 6.0 in the neck and a 6.8 in the bridge.
Sure.
And the neck's like 500 times louder.
Yeah.
I can't make it stop. Yeah. Maybe it's just a super resonant spot or I can't make sense out of it, but it's just like the dumbest guitar ever, but it plays great.
Yeah.
Totally worthless unless you want to just play it in your living room.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's like, yeah, that's why it sucks to like lose those things, man. Cause it's like that. Yeah, it's sort of one of those things where you start getting into the SGs and hollow bodies and stuff, and you're just like, man, there's not another one that sounds like the same way or like feels that same way. Like there's so many factors that come into it. It's like. It's all about the resonance. I think someone was like telling me about that the other day, about the whole how it's really difficult. It's really kind of impossible to replicate the vintage guitar feel. Like even if you go component for component, replicate everything, even with original materials and stuff, even with Strats and Tellys and stuff. There's just something where it's just you pick up a vintage guitar and it like feels that way. It's like something about the way the wood ages over time, or
I think it has everything to do with the vibration that the wood sustains.
For sure.
Tightens it and hardens it,
It's sort of like it's like everything else in the universe, it's all about the vibrations that you don't see or hear or anything. It's there. It's an energy.
It's very deep, sir.
Fuck.
No, I mean, I'm serious.
It's just
very deep.
It's just a theory, but it sort of makes sense because it's just like, it always used to be that sort of, and it's like, what are the vintage guitar aficionados? It's like, how deep does that rabbit hole go, and is it really valid? It's like,
totally.
Can you tell the difference like between a 50s telly and a Mexican telly on like a recording if you put the same pickups in it or something? It's like, yeah, it's going to sound like the same guitar, but it's like when it's in your hands, it's a different thing. I think when you're on that deeper level of there's guys like us who, we're playing full time. It's like, it's not a hobby thing. It's just like,
it's exactly the point I was going to make. You're a collector or are you a player?
Yeah,
because those aren't the same thing.
And I think when you're a player, it's like you become even more like discerning when it comes to stuff like that, and that's what sends you down the rabbit hole of changing stuff out, and then just and then being burdened with some instruments that like I was talking to Rob today about everyone's gotten a custom guitar at some point that they just they really wanted to bond with, and it just didn't quite work out, and you're sending it back to the guys all the time, or you're just like, man, can you try a different neck on this or something? And you try 3 different necks on the same guitar, and it just still feels like a plywood plank, and you're just like, this thing just feels like like a bad Squire or something, and then you just try to explain it, and then you like play like a Squire, and one of them feels really good, and you're like, holy shit, this is awesome. Like there's something in there, you know what I mean? That's
my favorite part. It's like you never know which one's gonna speak to you.
Right.
Maybe it's the 53 gold top or whatever, or maybe it's a Jack Pearson bullet Strat.
Oh yeah, for real. Like just.
He once told me it was the funniest thing I've ever heard him say, which is,
"Oh, Jack,
yeah." He goes, "Man, one day I hope to have me $1,000 worth of these."
That's awesome.
They're like $140 or whatever. I mean,
I love that he just does it on purpose, just to annoy the gigs, basically. Like, it's just.
I don't think
it's genius. It's great. Like,
he told me that he really likes those guitars.
Makes sense. I mean, they're good.
It's a thing, man. And if you can play like that and you have that much to say, it matters less. Yeah. He has what I would call old guy tone.
Yeah, definitely.
But it just worked because, again, when you got something to say as profound as what he seems to always have to say musically, it almost doesn't matter. For me, it's like tone directly impacts how well I'm able to play. If it sounds like I want it to sound, I am way more likely to play clean and like truly expressive. And if I'm battling something not sounding like it, it's just like I'm clinking and clanking.
You sound like you're fighting it. Yeah, exactly.
It's like I feel like, and maybe that's just my justification to the pursuit of finding new things to help get closer to whatever it is that I'm hearing, whether I'm actually hearing it or not.
I wonder how many guys there are who have like really. I'm sure there's cats who've done like an experiment where it's just doing something like that, where they're just like, I'm gonna get rid of all of my nice gear and like just sit down with, like go back to playing like a nylon string for like a whole year or something, just to like rediscover. Like, I feel like you read about people doing that stuff. Like,
yeah.
Like, didn't Derek Trucks take a bunch of time off and he like went to India and stuff?
Yeah, he studied with Ravi Shankar.
Right, yeah, and just like wasn't playing like, it was studying the music, not guitar. You know what I mean? It was like.
Totally.
I was like, that'd be cool.
And you can hear that in his playing.
Wouldn't that be awesome
I love it.
if guys like us could do that? I mean, it's like, I say if we could, it's just like, there's no reason not to, you know what I mean? But it's just, that seems so outside of the realm. It's like, because you're just, I'd love to do that, but I gotta go fucking play downtown tomorrow. Yeah. I gotta go do a demo session. Just, not this week. Like, it was gonna.
Man, I actually saw Derek play on Friday. Dan, like I was telling you, I was playing with, we opened for Ashley McBride at this spot in Huntsville, and literally 100 yards outside the back door of this place was the Tedeschi Trucks parking lot concert. So we finished, we watched Ashley, and then we went and got to catch most of the second set of Tedeschi Trucks. Man. And they're pared down. It was just Falcon on drums, a dude I didn't know playing bass, Susan, Derek, the gentleman that plays, I forget which horn and sings, and he's playing acoustic guitar. He's the guy that wrote Midnight in Harlem. Mm-hmm. You know which guy I'm talking about? The guy with the afro. He's a backup singer most of the time. He plays tambo. I think he plays a horn. He wrote a bunch of the songs. He's a fucking amazing musician.
That must have been, damn, you just lucked into the singing.
And they got
it's like,
Gabe Dixon on keys now since Kofi passed.
Yeah.
And he's a Nashville guy, and I didn't realize that.
Dude, that's awesome.
It was great. It was like,
I've never seen the show.
Filled up my cup, if you will.
I've watched all the DVDs and of Red Rocks and all that stuff, and just loved it. But I've never been to a Tedeschi Trucks Band show.
I saw him in 2013.
I'm probably really missing out.
Do you know guitar player Eric Krasno?
I don't think so.
He was in a band called Lettuce for a long time.
Oh yeah, with Adam Deitch and
yeah.
Okay, yeah, those guys are
I forget the name of the other dude, but Eric was one of those dudes, and he was playing bass for Tedeschi Trucks when I saw them the first time, and he was murdering, dude. He was playing a P bass with a pick through an SVT with a fridge, which is pretty hard to screw up, but I mean, he was very funky, and he played the bass. He wasn't a guitar player with a bass, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, surely Tedeschi Trucks would not hire that to go on tour with them. Yeah. That was a pleasant surprise. Dan came back. He's like, "Hey, Tedeschi Trucks is playing outside. Y'all want to go see them? And we were like, yeah, let's go and see Tedeschi Trucks band. I mean, we literally, it was 100 yards. We walked out the back door of the venue, 100 yards, and we're watching Tedeschi Trucks band. We pulled up and we were like, oh man, are we going to have to play outside? Well, no, that wasn't us. We played inside, and then Tedeschi Trucks band played outside. I didn't know what to expect. It was pretty crazy. I've never been to Huntsville before. It's not even 2 hours away.
Yeah, it's there.
It is there.
Yeah.
Dude.
I wouldn't be able to name any of the venues or anything there. It's just, I know that's one where...
The place we played was a really new place in a larger complex. It was called Mars Music Hall. It was like...
okay, I know that place.
It's like a two-story room. It's real wide, but not very deep.
Yeah.
It was a really cool room. It sounded pretty good in there. The high ceilings, I think, had a lot to do with that. The next night we played in the opposite, which was like more of a shotgun, old school club style gig. Yeah. I mean, it was like a bigger club, probably at least 1,000 capacity.
Dude, the funny thing, it's so funny you say that, because it's like that's the whole thing with Alabama. It's like so funny. It's like all my memories of playing there on like, just fucking country artist gig, van trailer, going playing a honky tonk or something. It's like every memory of being in Alabama playing the show. It's like playing some shit fucking like country festival or saloon or something, and every time I'm there, there's always something way cooler happening right down the street. Like they're playing with fucking Chad Michelson or whatever his name is, like fucking, and then like right down the street, they're just like, oh yeah, didn't you hear? Like it's like the fucking, there's some huge...
The Rolling Stones are here.
Exactly, the Rolling Stones are here. It's like, oh, it's the Black Crowes reunion or like some shit. Like, and it's like happened. It's like, oh, that's why there's no one... Yeah, exactly.
One time...
Because it's like Alabama's so rich for... They always have cool shows and stuff. You know what I mean?
That's true, dude. There's always stuff going on
Always stuff going on. It's just...
There's like... And in the middle of nowhere, I was playing at... a place, I think it was called like Four Sons, and it was about the size of this room, and we were playing an acoustic show, and it was the second gig of the day, and we were like really grinding. And then Gary Allen and all his band walked in. They had just played down the street.
Yeah.
And like we're literally it's not even in a town. It's like if you were to look for an address, it would be a county. It wouldn't be a city. In between some pine trees was this shithole bar, and God bless Gary Allen and his whole band walks in.
Yeah.
Alabama, you're doing something very weird, Alabama.
Dude, it's awesome. You ever been down to Muscle Shoals?
I actually have not.
You would dig the shit out of it, man. It's so
That's what everyone says.
It's badass, man. But buddy of mine, Craig Alvin, just moved down there because he's a mix engineer. And he was saying that a lot of the guys who are doing mixing and stuff, it's like because so much of it happens remotely now because it's file sharing. They're all getting sick of Nashville with the prices and just the traffic and everything. And they started going down there. And there's kind of been a resurgence because obviously there's Fame Studios down there and Muscle Shoals Sound. And it's like, it's crazy. The first couple of times I went down there just to go hang out, because Greg was like, man, you got to see it down here. It's awesome. It's like a mini Nashville. It's like there's like this isolated, condensed scene where there's still like, there's like 5 or 6 studios down there where there's still, you can walk in any day and they're making records. Like, it's nothing like insane, but it's like some of the old Swampers guys are still there, like David Hood.
But it is kind of insane because it's nowhere.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like not even close to like a major highway or anything. You gotta find your way there, and it's like there's just something in the water or the air or something. There's just this whole vibe down there, and it's super cool. It's like it's like you go there, you sort of understand. Like you're like, okay, now I get why like, Isbell and all these guys love going down there to record, and like, why, even like why like the Rolling Stones went there like back in the day, and
Aretha and everybody.
Yeah, it's like everything, and it's like it's still, but it's
I guess
still.
Aretha only did the one song, and then her husband and Rick all got in a fight. And then she took the Swampers to New York, if I'm not mistaken.
But
it was still the Swampers on the whole record. They just only did I Ain't Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You. The title track, I believe.
That's right.
Great song, great, like one of my favorite records of all time. Like if somebody were to say, point me to some classic Aretha, I would point them in the. And I know that's like the anomaly, actually, but that to me is. If I think of Aretha, I don't think Respect and Chain of Fools. I think of that record because that's like young, raw, you know. So you were saying you were just going down there to hang out. Have you since been tracking down there?
Yeah, I've been doing a bunch of stuff down there. A place called East Avalon. Killer little place. It's kind of, it's great. Just, because
same group of cats each time.
Just like got some friends down there, and it's sort of, and anytime a project or something comes up that's like not, it's kind of any excuse to not do the Nashville thing.
The variety, a little spice.
Yeah, it's a little spice. It's like a little different. It's sort of somewhere where you can go, and it's like it's not,
And you get to go there. That's cool. It's always cool changing your scene like that.
The drive's beautiful, and it's just there's a lot to look at, and I
find inspiration that way for sure.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's funny, like you go down there and you see the old Muscle Shoals sound. I guess it was where the Stones came and tracked. What was the record? Was it Exile?
Yeah, I can't remember, man.
But they went. But anyway, you can just go down the street and you'd be like, okay, that building was like the brothel where they'd go get all the girls and the drugs and stuff. Like it was kind of like a safe haven for big rock bands that were like burned out doing
like an unregulated community.
Yeah,
kind
exactly.
Of a situation.
They were like burned out from doing the New York, LA, London thing, and just doing major city tours all the time. It's like
huge bands too, just trying to get away from people. Period.
Oh, totally. Like, and that's what it felt like to me. That was like it's like a getaway. It's like, oh man, it's like a vacation. It's sort of like
I can't think off the top of my head, but
go down there and it's
there's
like
a bunch of huge bands there in the 70s, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like all across the spectrum. I've seen multiple documentaries. I'm totally blanking on literally anyone else that's recorded there at this moment. So I got that going for me.
yeah, for real.
I'm doing great.
But yeah, it's a long list. It's great.
Well, that's dope, dude. I had another question that I wanted to ask you, and I can't think of that either. So I'd say all in all, tonight's been a great success.
Oh, dude, amazing food, man! Like that, those tacos are just legendary.
I've got this thing.
Really appreciate that.
Running at a heavy limp right now. We're being without the engineer and totally losing myself in the day. I did a bunch today, to be totally honest. I did a bunch of the lady and I have both basically been just like gone for several days. I was gone this weekend, and she's been working like crazy. We've had the engineer that you met that had to leave.
Yeah,
he and his old lady.
Dude, man. He got a rough way.
He got something sideways with him. But he and his old lady have been his girlfriend have. That's such a a biker term, and I'm in no way a biker. His old lady.
Yeah.
They've been helping us with the dog and coming over and letting him out because otherwise he would just be locked up and I can't do that.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll sooner not go to work than lock a dog up all day. But it's just
dude,
I'm crazy,
I'm that
man.
way too. Like the dog takes priority. Like that's why I like living close to like I was saying earlier. It's like I'm totally one of those people who I'm overpaying to rent, being in Nashville for what it is. But it's probably the biggest perk of living in the middle of the city is being able to come home on lunch breaks to let my dog out. And just to hang out with my dog when I'm sick of all these fucking idiots in the studio and I just want to get away from it. I'm totally that guy. I was like, man, we're all going to fucking
Taco Mamacita
for lunch. Like, you coming with? I'm like, no. Like, I just spent like 8 hours with you going. I'm gonna just go sit on the couch with my dog in silence for 45 minutes. Like, and that's what I want. That's what I need right now.
The decompression is important, man.
And having the dog's a great excuse to say no to, like, you know, someone's like, wow, what fucking, we're gonna go. you want to go do, like, can you do this gig with us in Topeka, Kansas next weekend? And I'm like,
sorry, man,
I'd love to, but like, man,
nobody to take care of my dog.
No one to take care of my dog. I'm just like, yeah.
That's like, there's so many comedian bits about the same thing, but kids, but like, and I've heard it with dogs too, but I mean, it really is true, because what's somebody gonna be like? Oh man, fuck your dog. Nobody's. At least I don't know. I've never been in a situation where that's been somebody's reaction. Yeah. Because I would have to say that right back to that any person that felt that way, which is silly. But,
no, that's great.
I digress. Man, I wish I could remember. I had one more thing that I wanted to ask you about for sure. I thought about it when I went downstairs just now. I was like, oh, I bet I got to remember to ask him blah, and then nope. Oh, yes, I just remembered. Nice. So it had been a minute since I had seen you. Probably close to 2 years. It was a Mark Letary show, I think, is the last time I physically saw you.
Yeah, that's right. I remember. Yep.
Well, I mean,
that show was awesome. Yep.
Texted and messaged or whatever, but your main amp rack that you post pictures of fairly frequently has changed a lot since then. Do you still have that 61 brown-faced Bassman?
Nope, I traded that. Don't have that anymore.
Because the first time I met you, you're like, I finally found it. This is my perfect amp. That's what you were talking about. Because Scallon has the same one. And you were playing his on the
I was playing his, and his sounded way better than mine, which is why I ended up getting rid of mine. It's like, it's so ridiculous how that happens. It's like I just got a badass matchless, and I'm like, that's why I don't ever want to hear yours, because I know it's going to be like, okay, now that's...
Yeah, you got a Clubman, right?
Yeah,
Is it a Samson?
It's not, but
it doesn't even matter, because you know what?
Yeah.
I've A-B'd so many Samsons to this, and I say so many. I've done it twice. They sound the same.
Yeah,
they sound the same, bro. It's the same components. It's the same design. The same care goes into building each one of them. Phil doesn't owe me anything, and I've never even met him, Phil Jameson.
Sure.
And he's been so great to me, man. Like, he's been great to me.
That's awesome.
And I'm happy, because I'm just thrilled about every matchless I've ever played, with the exception of one that Book had in his shop for a minute, and it was called something that I'd never heard of before and that I will never be able to remember. It was a 1-8 combo, and it was a matchless.
Oh, bizarre!
And he goes,
yeah.
Oh, I got this matchless, but you don't want to play it. It sounds like shit.
That sounds about right.
And I was like, okay. I was like, well, thanks for bringing that up. But with the exception of that matchless that Bukovac says sounds like shit, and if anybody's going to know if something sounds like shit, if I have one lifeline, he's a strong contender. So,
for sure.
But they're just so consistent. I mean, Samson era, post Samson, it doesn't matter. What's the biggest difference is? The handle.
Yeah, that's basically
the new handles are better and worse. The old handles scared me because that fiberglass cracked around the metal, and I just never knew, because I had a Samson era Chieftain for several years.
It always feels like it's like, is it gonna crack while I'm holding it? It's gonna tear my hand apart,
but these things tear all the time. This is the fourth one I've had on this.
Yeah, I think mine's got some form of zip ties or something around it. It's like, it's hard. Yeah, that's why I don't deal with it. I leave it for Larry to do with the cartridge rig.
Well, I mean, the damn thing weighs 60 or 65 pounds, something absurd for a head.
Yeah,
but
they are killer though.
As I've said before on this here podcast, Gear and Beer podcast, I've seen one fall out of the back of a dude's Escalade into the alley and plug right in without even like reseating the tubes and play 3 hours with no problem.
Dude,
it was actually Guthrie Trapp's old C30, and there was some sort of Tolex on it that felt like bed liner. It was almost gross feeling. Like a bar mat or something. I mean, it was a gross feeling texture, whatever it was.
Yeah, it was like hairy or like. Yeah.
It was
That's
gross.
funny.
It was gross, man. I'm a big. Okay, so I'm sorry. I totally digress. What is in the current rack?
Oh shit. Yeah. So. What hasn't changed much? It started off. I got the 20-watt version of the JMP. It's like that little hand-wired Marshall one that I traded my original. I had an HC30, a matchless that I'd gotten in a trade.
Is it JMP?
Yeah, it's like the 20-watt hand-wired JMP. It's got the 2 channels with the 4 knobs. It's like it's really awesome. They were kind of big around like 2010, 2011. Everyone was raving about them, but they were like $2,500 new, and I don't think they did very well because they were kind of overpriced.
Sure.
But I found one cheap, and I traded some stuff for it. Picked it up. That thing's badass. I used it today. I don't think
I'd love to hear that. I didn't even know that existed.
It doesn't.
This is a JMP.
Yeah.
It's 20 watts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's cool. It's like, I don't know how much air it pushes compared to the full size ones, but it does the sound. It's like even the Marshall thing, it does that.
I actually got this from Bugavec.
Oh yeah, it is.
And it sounded amazing when I played at the shop. I was like, yeah, I want this. And then I got home and it sounded like shit. What I ended up doing, thanks to my buddy Boo Massey, hi Boo, I put a 12 AT in V1, and it nice. It totally opened it up, man. It's got plenty of headroom now, and it's a country amp, or it's a cool pedal platform. It's pretty loud.
Yeah,
it's still very Marshall-y, and like when I track with it, it's probably dime. Yeah, I jump.
I noticed that earlier. I was
it.
like, yeah, you've got Nigel
like
Tuffman to like.
Yeah, totally. It's bass is almost totally off. 6 on the mids and the trebles basically dimed.
Oh, that's awesome.
Presence in I love that sound. That's if I'm tracking, that's my overdrive. If medium to beyond overdrive, that's what I use. It just reacts so well, but like I don't play a lot of gigs where I need that sound, much less that volume.
Sure.
Do you ever mess with the aux? Have you messed with the aux?
Yeah, those are cool. I used one for a little while. I've been using the 2 Notes Torpedo.
Really?
Which is like a cheaper version. I think it's been around for longer.
Yeah, it has.
They weren't that known because they were a French company and they didn't have a lot of distribution here. But
they tried a real hard push about 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah, and I think
it never really went anywhere.
Right. And
they got good stuff from everyone that I've talked to. Likes the stuff.
Yeah, I love it. It does the thing. I use that at home just for consistency and for not having to deal with miking up a cab. But I haven't.
Well, and just general volume.
And it just, man, I love the Kemper is an amazing piece of gear. I can't allow myself to own one because I think I'm such a gearhead, and not in like the collector way, but I just love the feel of amps. I love plugging something. I like having
a stance of this podcast.
I love having to lift it up and find the cable and plug it in and get the sound and deal with it. So, that sounds like ass because you blew a tube or something. I think that's part of the process. Like I love, I've gone through so many Bassmans and different fenders and stuff that I've gotten and traded out because it's like there's that whole thing where you get like 6 months out of an amp where it just is right before everything starts to break on it.
Yeah.
Where it starts sounding amazing. It's like when the tubes are cooking and you're frying power tubes all the time and it just sounds amazing. And it's like you get and then
that broken in
thing and you only get it from it's like jeans or boots or something. You know what I mean? It's like it's that.
Totally. or even like a good set of strings. Like brand new strings suck to play.
Right.
You know?
It's got to be that perfect thing, and
the sweet spot.
And especially the stuff that I'm doing at home is not inspiring a lot of the time. Like, I mean, musically, it's like, you know, I'm not playing on anything.
Are you using the camp? Oh, you said you refuse to own a camper.
I can't do it because it takes a lot for me to get motivated to record at home without the encouragement of an engineer, or I might get someone sends a voice memo of some notes or something of what they want something to sound like.
Yeah.
Or they very rarely might want to text or listen into the session while I'm doing it. But most of the time, it's just like, here's the track, do your thing with it. And I would be so terrified of how much it would change my approach to be able to have that digital thing where it's just consistent all the time, and it's just where it just be like, oh, I can pull up like a Wagner or a Mesa or something. It's like, I feel that would be a little, I mean, they're so awesome, and if I, you know,
do you feel like it would hamper your creativity?
I think it really would. It's like, if I was
I could see that.
If I was a serious record producer, someone, you know, doing awesome shit every day, it would be, you know, it'd be a great tool to have. And that's what, you know, some guys have, you know, made records with those things, and it's just, you know, you get
they do sound very good.
Yeah,
but it's totally a feel thing for me. I'm the same way. It doesn't feel the same way.
It doesn't feel the same way. It's, you know, sounds great and all that, but it's just,
I don't know what is that from, like
I like the struggle of I like the nuances of changing, getting a different tone from a pedal, or like I love guitars. It's like the same thing. It's like that, you know, that's why I have 30, 40 guitars. It's not quite so much about the collection thing. It's like
each one has a vibe.
It has a vibe, and it's just inspiring. It's like, you know, it's like I was saying with like the cartridge rig and stuff. I'll bring a bunch of stuff to the studio, but I'll use the same thing for an entire session.
Sure.
It's more for that whole thing
just
of
in
like,
case.
just sometimes you just get to a certain studio, their voltage is weird, or you got a tracking engineer who mixes ears, you know, mixes the Q mix a certain way, or like they're using certain mics or something, and sometimes it's just like not vibing, like where you're just like, oh, you know, like this bassman that I was tracking with all day yesterday was amazing, and now it sounds thin and like shitty. And a lot of the time it's like it doesn't, it's just like an ear thing. It's like because your ears are conditioned, especially like, you know, when I got headphones on for 12 hours a day just listening to loud stuff being tracked, it's like you get that fatigue. And I'll switch something up, or I'll track down a new piece of gear for like an inspiration. And I've got stuff that I've acquired where I bought it, used it for 2 weeks, really liked it, and then switched to something else, and I haven't like touched it since. It's like, and that's just purely, you know, it's not something where it's like, oh, I'm gonna sell it, because it's just like, no, this is still like part of my collection, and one day this like this one pedal I got, or this one amp I got is like gonna be something that I need again. And
you're going to be like, what was that one thing? Oh, yeah. And then you'll have, if you sold it, you're going to be like, son of a bitch.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Which is why I never sell anything.
Yeah,
maybe to my detriment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
I sold one bass, and I tried to find the guy and buy it back, and I can't find him.
Yeah.
And it was like a $600 bass. It was nothing. But I was like, you know what would be great right now? That bass with this little buttery thing that it did. Yeah. And then they're like, nope, don't have it anymore. You sold it, you stupid ass idiot.
Totally. And keeping hold of shit's cool, especially if it's like something that's good quality or vintage or whatever, amp, guitar, pedal or something. It's like
it's tools. You don't see painters swapping paintbrushes all the time. They're getting more to do more varieties of strokes or what, you know. That's maybe a weird analogy, but
and the chances are it's gonna go up in value, or if you keep hold of it for long enough, it's gonna be valuable to somebody else. Like, I can't tell you the amount
maybe somebody in your place for sure.
Right, but it's like, it's the amount of times where I've kept hold of something that might have been worth $400. Kept hold of it instead of selling it for $300 or $400. I kept hold of it, and then later down the line I traded it with someone for something that was worth like $600 or $700.
Right.
Because someone was just like, "Oh, that's exactly what I want right now. I'll trade you this."
That's kind of like we were talking about earlier with those
for sure. It's
masters of the trade.
Masters of the trade, and we were talking about the guys that have really dialed it in and have been doing it for years, and
Man,
you can make
that's a skill.
You can make a living
talent
with it, but that's sort of part of the fun too. I always say like, kids, don't sell stuff. There's always a way. You know what I mean? It's like,
if you think that you might want it or you might like it, or even if you're just not, if you hate it, you hate it. Get rid of it. That's one thing. But if you're on the fence, or if you're just trying to like get another thing, maybe depending on the thing, it's worth it. But be sure.
Yeah.
Be
sure.
real sure, because
you will lose sleep if you regrettably sell something. You know
it'll
what I mean?
It'll be a nightmare later.
It'll haunt you. Yeah.
Well, dude, let me let you get out of here, man.
Dude, thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you, bro.
This is super cool. I'll spread the word. And
Saul is the man. There'll be a bio, and I'll attach the dictionary full of all his credits so that you can go check out his work. I'm trying to like, if there's anything that you want me to like link in the YouTube or whatever,
sure.
I'm doing all that stuff too. So anything that Saul wants you to check out will be available for you to check out in the YouTube links, as well as his Instagram handle, where you can see gratuitous gear porn and general lifestyle
pictures of my
shenanigans.
dog.
Yeah, lots of dibs and you're real good about posting the stuff that you played on that's coming out, and like that's cool, man. For people who are into just like checking it out and like following your work, that's
I try to.
Cool.
It's sort of
Gives props to who you're working with too, and
and it's
sometimes you're more notable than they are, yeah.
Well,
no offense to anyone who you're playing for.
I'm just so not an artistic kind of person, so it's like that's my legacy.
Well, shut that down. You are very artistic, sir.
But my legacy is just it's just everything. What your
legacy
on, like
your legacy is how artistic you are, and all the expressions of your art that people keep calling you for every single day, bro. So don't be humble. That's something to be proud of for sure, because
dude, I love it.
It's awesome to think about, and I don't have a number on the top of my head, but there's been no less than 10 of your parts that I've had to learn for other gigs, and that's cool. I think great. That's cool, man. So anyway, Saul Philcox, Littlefield, my man. Appreciate you, bud.
Thank you, bud. Dude, thanks for having me, man. That's
Gear and Beer Podcast. Follow us, subscribe, all of the stuff. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Gear and Beer Podcast. Make sure and subscribe and turn on notifications for our channels, and if you haven't already, follow our Instagram and YouTube channels. We truly appreciate your support and ask that you please tell anyone you know whom you think might be interested in our podcast about gear and beer, to help us grow and continue bringing in great guests from around the industry and beyond. Thanks again, and until the next episode.